home today? Do you know?
I don't think so.
Think they sent him home?
No,
Oh.
I don't think so yet. Yeah,
On both of mine, I was lucky. I said I get to stay. But now they send them home same day. Oh, you're awake? Okay, out the door. Like,
we need the bed.
yeah,
Demonstrate mobility.
6:30.
Get up, okay.
yeah, are we? Oh, we are 6:30, okay. Since we are at 6:30, I'd like to call the Town of Belgrade Select Board Meeting for August 20th to order. And if we will start with allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have, Dan was trying to zoom in and is unable to get a stable signal, so he will not be in, but we have 4 board members, so that establishes a quorum. And we will start with, it's our practice, if anyone has any comments they want to bring before the board that are not on the agenda, this would be a time for a public comment. We will most likely not act on anything, but we will bring it forward in another meeting. Is there anyone that wants to bring it forward?
Hmm.
Is there anyone online? Okay. So, first order of business then will be to review and approve the minutes from August 6, 2024. I move we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
No,
Anyone find anything?
no, I had reviewed these and didn't see anything noteworthy.
Okay,
It's okay to me.
all right. All right, all in favor, Melanie,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes,
Barbara,
Yes.
Carol votes yes, so it's 4 yes, 1 absent. So, I move we open unfinished business. And
Second.
our first request is a request for funds for the rabies clinic. Mary, did you want to speak to that?
I think I presented everything at the last meeting, and basically I did go and recalculate. It is $2,400.
Okay.
And I've also added in what we took in this year and the balance of what the account currently stands at.
Okay. So we took in what 4,800 in late fees, and our balance is at, we have $21,577.93 in our balance at the moment. Just for the record. I move we approve the request for funds from for the dog related actions that are
Second.
listed here.
I'll second that.
We want to read them out.
What?
We want to read them out for records.
Want to read them out? Okay.
Special fund.
$200 for a dog basket, 5 $100 drawings for services at the vet's office, $500 for the rabies clinic to be scheduled tentatively for October 26th from 9 to 11. The clinic is free for residents, $10 per dog for non-residents. $300 for advertising of the clinic, $700 for early reminders and reminders after December 31st. And a $200 gift certificate for Dr. Danner.
I'll second that.
No discussion? All in favor, Melanie,
Yes.
Peter,
yes,
Barbara,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes, so that's 4 yes and 1 absent.
Thank you.
thank you, Mary.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Together for us, Mary. Okay. I move we open new business.
Second.
Okay, and we have No, appointments or resignations, we can move through that item. The next item is, abatements. I think this was, there was a little confusion last week, so this is, coming back to us. Assessor Rod Duplessis has requested an abatement to correct the ownership for Edwin and Laura Burton. The map 3 lot 56, account RE 3046. The abatement is the amount of $3,075.15.
Second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, Barbara,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes, so that's 4 yeses, 1 absent. And moving right along. We have our Katie Cog. Representative appointment for General Assembly. Do you know when this is? When General Assembly is?
We have one coming up, I wanna say September 25. I just got a notice on it, I can forward that to, whoever wants to volunteer. To
Okay.
be one of these folks.
What day of the week is that?
September
Just scroll it down.
25th.
I left my phone at home, so sorry.
September 25th is a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, okay.
I could probably do that.
Okay,
Depending on what time it is, I could be the alternate for you.
you could be there when, Helen?
I've got an appointment at 9, so depending on what time it is, if we need a backup, I can be the backup on it.
Okay. Well, do we want to appoint, Barbara as the primary and, Melanie is the backup? Is that,
Or if Melanie, if this is something that you can do on a weekday.
Yeah,
And,
it's-
and you want to be the primary.
As long as my appointment's probably gonna go until at least 10. So as long as it's like after that time, I just have
It's, starts at 11, in Gardner.
to be in Manchester, so I can go do,
so you can do it?
yep, I can.
Oh,
Lunch will be provided.
Ooh.
That's a hook right there.
I'm gonna forward this to you, Melanie.
Okay.
Okay, then I move we appoint Melanie as our official representative. And Barbara Allen is our alternative official representative.
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor, Barbara,
Yes.
Peter,
yes.
Melanie?
Do I abstain?
And I'll vote yes, so that gives us 4 yeses and 1 absent.
And thank you both for
Yes.
being able to do that.
So what time, it starts at 11, you said?
Yeah, I'll forward this to you as well.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, our next item is cost recovery agreement review. And approval for fire and rescue. Laura, would you like to take us through where we're at?
Yes, and I see I've got Travis, has been able to zoom in for this as well. So it looks like in 2020, we have a contract that renews annually. If you read that.
Yeah.
It's a 1 year and it renews annually. I didn't print a copy, but I sent that out to you, today. Then they sent us a new contract for 2023. You have a copy of that in your binder. And it says shall automatically renew, well, it runs for 1 year and then automatically renews for a term of 3 years.
Which is why I said we should already be in a 3-year
Which-
contract
which-
from January. to
Which we are. However, they have updated some of the language. And sent Dan a new contract, which was supposed to, if you see, it says it will start July 1 of this year. So I'm not sure why, unless it's just because they were updating language. Travis, I know you're on, do you have any idea? There he is. I can't hear you.
Well, it looks like they were doing more than updated revenue, they're going from 20% to 35.
Right, it says initially, 35, and then, once it's, I'm not sure who they're talking about, but if you look at these, is it page 2? Yes, page 2 of 5, look at 3C.
Yeah, that was all edited.
Sorry, look at A, I apologize.
A.
Initial short term, the fee will be 35% of each paid claim. Once the shortfall from 2023 has been paid back to all departments, the fee will be reduced progressively back to the standard of 20%. I just find that so odd.
I want something coming back to us and
This just,
discuss.
I know, it makes no sense, does
It
it?
doesn't, and that's why I was like, geez, didn't we have one? Cause I was trying to think of how many.
We
years
do.
we've had.
right,
We do.
And I was like, so like
Oh, I lost
twenty
track.
19, December was when we first discussed it.
Do you want me to see if I can get somebody in here?
mhm.
Yes.
I lost
I
track.
lost track.
He must have had bad reception.
Because one of the other things that we wanna see is how much have they recovered for us?
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Right.
Because we shouldn't.
I don't think we had a
shouldn't
lot
have
last
anything
year.
back from them. And we haven't had any big, I mean, this came about because of the tank. Could have recouped about $36,000 from that.
Right. I think we had to pull those figures just within the last couple of weeks
Now there's Travis.
for a grant application, and I want to say we were way under 5,000 last year. Way under.
So,
Travis, if you can hear me, do you remember the figure we provided to Randy Marshall? I think it was Randy Marshall for the grant application. We wanted to look at numbers for the cost recovery. I don't have it.
Well, I guess I look at this and to me, it's not really a contract because it can be canceled within 30 days by either party. So it sounds to me if we don't do what they want, then they can cancel the contract and offer us a new one.
But how?
I mean, like, why are we going through signing a contract if it's? I mean, that's the terms of condition of how it can be canceled. So is it really even a contract to begin with? And I'd like to know, how much is the shortfall? I mean, what are we recovering? And is there another alternative out there? Maybe this CMS or whatever it is not, maybe there are other companies that we should be looking at. Because this, I just find annoying. You have a 3-year contract and they change it.
6 months in.
Right.
Right,
Right.
and also on that same page, 2 of 5.
Oh, Travis is calling me.
Okay.
I have you on speaker. Oh,
Um, can you hear me now on the mic?
I think you want to ask, you want to mute us.
no, I can just hear you on my phone and I'm getting a terrible echo.
Okay, hold on. Sorry, I guess my microphone's not working, but
Oh, we got you now, Travis. Keep doing what you're doing.
Okay,
the reason this came out, cost recovery met with Dan and I, and they run into some financial troubles where they,
Sure.
needed
I was
to
gonna
bring in
say,
some more
Delta.
income. So they came to us and kind of laid it out to us and told us that they are gonna increase their fees up to 35%, from 20% on any paid invoice that goes out. We really don't collect a lot of money from this whole program because the only time we collect money is when the insurance company pays. And I'm able to log into the portal. There's a lot of insurance companies that deny the claim, and we don't aggressively pursue the individuals. So it's under, I think last year it was under $2,000, I'm pretty sure.
we just pulled those figures for a grant application. And I want to say we were way under 5, and I'm thinking under 2, like you just said for last year, right?
Yeah, and I think the previous year, don't quote me, but I think it was like between $5,000 and $6,000, somewhere around there. It wasn't a lot. But at the same time, any money that comes in is helpful, but, it's up to you guys what you wanna do with that.
And Travis, remind me, because we first talked about this in 2019. You guys don't have enough time to do the legwork that's involved, so we need.
No, it's very complicated, I think, because I'm able to see the progress they make with insurance companies. And they go back and forth with them, arguing the case to try and get money. It's quite a process, I think. And they know the ins and outs of dealing with insurance companies much more than we would even be able to tackle.
Travis, would there be another company that we might be able to use?
I have not heard of any other companies that do this. I'm not saying there isn't, but I'm not familiar with any.
And Travis, do you think it would be beneficial for them to come to the next board meeting? And walk the board through, because Dan, I think, would be the only one who was here at the time that we first decided to do this, because it was after the tanker fire.
I'm
So,
sorry, Melody, I wasn't able to quite hear you.
sorry,
Do you think it would be beneficial to have someone come and speak to the board and kind of walk them through all of this? Because Dan is not here tonight, he's not able to zoom in, and Melanie is remembering he was the only one that was here
just a minute.
at that time, just he and Melanie, to remember this when you all first started.
You could, I mean, I just talked to Dan, he's fine with however you wanna do this, you know, it is more money that they'd be keeping, but he's fine where it's such little money that we take in. If you guys don't wanna do it, that's fine too, but I think cost recovery could come talk to you guys too. It's up to you guys, I'm sure they'd probably come in, but.
But in the event of something major like that tanker fire, did we have this at that time?
No.
No,
That's why
No,
we
that's.
did it.
And
we were
this is
kinda
why we
lucky
did
to
it.
get the money that we did from that tanker fire, because that was before we even had an ordinance for this program
uh-huh,
in town.
and
So
do you,
probably if we had the ordinance and we're doing this program, when tanker fire came, we might have actually got more money from that.
Because I think we had looked in, Travis, if I remember right, I think if we had the cost recovery, we could have recovered a little over 35,000.
Yeah,
Instead we
yeah.
got zero.
they helped us get the money that we did, when that happened, but from my understanding, if we were on board with this and had an ordinance in town for it, we probably could have got a lot more money for that.
Because I think we ended up at like 11.
Isn't it a little scary, though, that both parties signed a 3-year contract and conditions of the contract are a 30-day notice to cancel or end the contract, but they didn't do that? And they're increasing their rate from 20% to 35%. So because they're having financial trouble, what's to say they won't come back to us next year and say, oh, we're gonna up it to 45 or 50%?
Or 6 months.
Or whatever.
Could, and then, I mean, if they did that, it really would be less worth it, and, I mean, we could cancel it, I mean, I don't know of any other companies out there that do this.
mhm.
And some towns do it a little differently, where they go after the individuals, but I don't think as a town, we wanna be doing that, but. And we also only bill out to, non-residents as well.
Mm. And so we don't, this contract doesn't require us to pay anything, it's just, we just,
Correct.
basically,
Yeah,
they,
We will never have to pay into it.
Okay.
They only keep 35% of what's paid to them.
right, so if we,
Recent contract is worded.
if we were to have another major incident, it might be beneficial. If it doesn't cost us anything to keep,
Right, it
then,
doesn't.
No, it doesn't cost the town anything.
That's
It'll
a good
never
point.
cost us anything.
yeah,
It's just they're keeping more of the revenue that they used to.
yeah, I mean, that would be my concern, not $2,000 a year, but what if it's another, $30,000 or $40,000 or.
Right.
you know,
Right.
At least we
Yeah.
don't pay
I mean,
them
it's
to
hurt
retain
us.
their
You know,
services.
all it is extra income.
Yeah,
And I don't know of any other options, but
Right,
yeah. Yeah. I just had one, they seem to be a little sloppy on that same page, 2 out of 5. Where there's a different, looks like they made some changes to item C because it's in a different, it's a logo typeface.
Mhm.
But in, the town is referred to everywhere else as client, and here it's customer. So I thought, well, you know, does the customer mean the person who was in the accident, or I think the customer means client from the way this is
Yeah, I
read.
think you're right.
But it just
Yeah.
seems like that was,
Yeah.
you know, a little sloppy on their part, so just might, if we do sign this, we might wanna correct that.
So is it worthwhile?
Just so you guys know, the only time this gets used is for car accidents.
Yeah.
It doesn't get used for anything else
Uh-huh.
right now.
So it really doesn't harm the town to sign and have it in place because there's no expense.
Right, this is, and they even, I think if you look, they changed, I don't know where exactly it is, but they changed the wording to this last one, they came out that they retain 35% of any paid claim.
Right.
Right,
I think the first one was 35% of any claim, because we asked the question, well, if you don't get money, are we gonna have to pay 35% of the claim? And he assured us, you guys will never have to pay into it.
right.
Because that would obviously defeat the purpose of the
Right.
program.
Right.
So basically, they just process the claim so that the town doesn't have to do it.
Exactly, yep, and they deal with the insurance companies, and if they do get checks from the insurance company, the way it's set up now, they will keep 35% of that.
So Travis, it also looks like in the previous contract that they were retaining $25 processing fee per claim submitted or 20% per processed claim. So if we had 10 claims, we're still paying them $25 a claim, even if we get none. So has there been a cost to bear for that?
That's a good question, maybe we need to ask them about that.
But if you look at the new contract, I don't see that, Melanie.
I don't see that either.
I think they're
see
figuring
the
I think they
35
took it out.
Right,
I
the old
see
one they had.
35 is the blanket.
Right.
Yeah,
And do you know, Travis, how much our
Yeah,
shortfall
they did.
is?
I'm sorry, what was that, Carol?
Do you know what the shortfall is that we have to pay back before we drop back down to 20%?
I don't, did he mention that to you and Dan?
No, I'm
No.
not sure.
I just like a little more information before
I would too.
Even if they zoomed in for me, I don't necessarily have to be in front of us, but
Yeah,
I think that we all have enough questions.
Yeah.
I
That,
agree.
and just some points of clarity.
I think it's worthwhile to have, but it should be concerning that they're having financial difficulty.
Right.
Well, they may not have priced themselves, if they're the only one doing it, they may not have had a model to price themselves on, and now they're realizing they've got to change their model. And if that's where we're at and there's no one else that does it, then it just, I would feel that I want some of those questions answered before I.
But how hard is it for us to process this ourselves?
Very. That's
Very.
what Travis just
It's
said.
very involved.
I don't
Okay.
even know where to start.
Okay.
You don't have time to do that, do you, Travis?
No, because if they have a portal that they give us access to, and you can see the back and forth between all their agents and the insurance companies, and it's overwhelming, and of course, insurance companies don't want to pay, and so they're, you know, debating that with them.
Yeah.
So, it seems to be quite a process.
So let's invite a representative from CMCR, or whatever they call it.
Yeah,
CMCR, Central Maine Cost Recovery LLC, to attend our next meeting,
Mhm.
to answer and address questions that the board may have.
Yeah, I can reach out to, his name's Bill Wentworth, that's who we've been talking to, and I can see if he can come to our next meeting.
that would be great.
Thank you.
And,
Is
or
there-
if we needed to Zoom, I mean, I'd be comfortable Zooming if we
Yeah.
needed to.
However,
Zooming would be
Zoom
fine.
as well, Trav.
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
I think that can happen, we'd probably be willing to do that.
Okay, and this isn't going to disappear in the meantime.
No, because they have to give us 30
They
days
give us
notice.
30 days notice, but, yeah.
And so for the record,
He sent an email and he said. It's not like we have tons and tons of accidents, so, but he said in the meantime, until this gets signed, have been on hold until we have the new contract filled out as of July 1st. So I think they'd still fill them out, they're just waiting for the contracts.
So Travis, did we have this contract before July?
Well, I think the new one was just sent, the updated one. The one we had before that was just a draft. I don't think he sent the official one until like last week.
Yeah, I think the one Dan sent over to me, I think was the 16th.
Well, it's Friday.
Yeah,
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 Yeah, so I don't feel like,
Yeah.
so this is my take. If we didn't get, so the new contract with them was technically from January 1st of 2024. A 3-year contract, because that was how our previous contract with them was worded.
Right.
Was so at the end of that contract, we would re-up for 3 years, which would be January of 2024. So to state, we don't have a new contract, our new contract should have been provided in January. So then if they didn't send the stuff until August, and now they're saying they're gonna hold anything, they came in prior to the contract being signed, that's not on us.
Right,
And they shouldn't be holding anything.
but the last contract with the other contract that we have, the previous contract is dated 3/7/23, the one that you signed.
Right.
So
Right.
that was March of.
Right, but if you read the dates, it went back to
Went
January.
back to January.
right, it says January 23, it runs for 1 year, and it says it automatically renews for 3.
For
Right.
3 years.
3 years.
So January of 24, it automatically already renewed.
Right.
For 3 years, that takes us.
So
to
in lieu of us have
26.
another proposal
right.
with that
Well,
old one stands.
signed though, or is that
Yeah.
the draft that they sent out? Is that signed by us?
January of 2023, yes,
But-
Melanie signed as chair of the select board.
Well, that was twenty
Well, that's a
twenty-three,
great- I
and
think
then that was the
we
one that
should
gave us the
ask.
3.
I know, right? We're already under a contract.
So that was my thing today, I was like, we should already be in one, let me go double check
Yeah.
myself, but I think that's what that says.
Gee, that contract and the new one they sent out might be more beneficial to us, correct?
If
No.
we re-up the last contract, which is where we should be, Travis, we're saying $25 a claim and 20% of whatever they collect. They keep.
Right.
And now they want 35%.
And now they want 35, but they dropped the
Okay.
$25 fee.
I'd like to know how many claims they've done.
Sorry, I didn't catch that, so I guess that would be some good questions to ask them.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'll keep this stuff in my book till next time, Trav.
Yeah, sorry, my mic's not working, it always has in the past, so.
No. That's fine, we can hear you good right on the phone.
Okay,
All right, are you all set?
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
Travis.
okay, thank you, Trev.
Thanks.
yeah, no problem, thanks a lot.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye.
So I move we table this cost recovery agreement review until next meeting.
So,
All in favor? Melanie?
yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes,
I'll vote yes, 4 yeses, 1 absent. Okay. Next up, we have planning board updates to shoreline zone ordinance. Laura?
Okay.
That's why someone's here.
So the planning board, Sarah Langette mentioned at the last meeting during the public comment section that there were some updates the planning board would like to put before voters for shoreland zone. And it was mentioned to put these on special referendum ballot for November. Oh, Ms. Travis, I did speak with Sarah today and asked her about, if it were emergency type situation that these changes needed to be, put before voters for November, and she said no. I said, could it wait for town meeting? And she said yes. Because Mary and I were speaking this morning, it does, require additional staff, postage, printing, to put just this on a ballot for November. She's already gonna have her hands pretty full because it'll be a big election cycle. But that's entirely up to the board. And George has agreed to come tonight and explain. I see we have Craig as well, so.
Go ahead.
He's like,
Yeah.
How about a few introductory comments and then I'll answer any questions you have. So Sarah's correct. This is not an emergency. This is housekeeping, if you will, or maybe a little more substantive than housekeeping, but it would be a proposed amendment to the soil erosion control performance standards in the ordinance. Currently, the ordinance in town requires any kind of soil fill, excavation, any kind of movement of soils in the shoreline zone over 1 cubic yard to be the soil erosion measures that are implemented to be supervised by an individual that's certified by the Department of Environmental Protection for that purpose. We've, over the past 12, 14 months, we've had a number of applications where rather than somebody, a homeowner, using a contractor, they're doing some work themselves, generally very small in scale, like putting in a garden or in one case, we had one where it was sort of a DIY kind of shed, and they just needed to level out some dirt, and 1 cubic yard is not a lot. So this really made us think that, you know, what's the real purpose here? We're really looking at larger scale movement of soil and who's doing it. Well, we're more interested in when there's a lot of mechanized equipment being utilized rather than somebody with their wheelbarrow and a shovel. So that was sort of the impetus for this proposal. In the course of looking into this, we realized our ordinance is slightly more stringent than state law and DEP's model ordinance in this regard. So this proposal scales it back to what's required in state law. No less stringent, obviously, because we can't be less stringent. So it restricts it to this particular requirement for the certified soil erosion control person to those soil disturbances by an excavation contractor. And we also included some exemptions that are also in state law. But just that one change by adding by an excavation contractor then triggers the need for a couple of definitions to be added to the definition section, including a definition for excavation contractor and a definition for soil disturbance, both of which came directly from state statute. With that, why don't I just answer any questions that you might have? As I said, I agree with Sarah. This is not time critical. It would be good to have it in place for next year's construction season. But if it was if it went to the voters in March, that would be more than adequate, at least in my opinion. Is there anything you want to add?
I guess I'm hearing that there may be some other proposed changes to the shoreline zoning ordinance. That would those be contradictory to or I don't know, I'm hearing a lot of
Or
different things that
conflicting.
might be conflicting, or someone might not want that part of it, but they're willing to do this. It would need to be presented in such a way that you could.
You're right. I mean, you may recall you had tasked the Land and Natural Resources Committee with presenting to the planning board and to yourselves, recommendations for potential upgrades to the shoreline zoning ordinance with specific regard to better protecting water quality. And certainly part of that is soil erosion. A major part of it
Right.
is soil erosion, along with stormwater runoff. The whether there may be a conflict between what they might recommend and this, I don't know. I tend to doubt it, but I don't know what they're gonna be recommending. They did attend our last meeting, or some of their representatives did. And it was clear that they weren't aware of what the timeline was to get something on the ballot for next March, so they got to hustle.
Right.
Because that's their objective is to have, but it remains to be seen, because we haven't had any indication what they might be thinking about. Other than what we saw in the back and forth with the town attorney about the legality of requiring an across the board 25-foot buffer strip, which is illegal.
Right.
My guess is, if I was a betting man, I would say, and I bet on horses just because I like their names, okay, so take that with a grain of salt, but, Fisherman Burke or something like that, but something along those lines would be in the mix, that wouldn't conflict with this whatsoever,
Okay.
anything along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barbara?
Yeah, so my question was related to that, but my first question was about the timing, because I know the Lakes Committee is looking at these, and it seems like it would make more sense to have all of the changes, all the proposed changes to the shoreline zoning ordinance come at once to the voters rather than piecemeal, so I'm glad that this isn't an emergency. But the way this reads, so if a private individual is using construction equipment and not acting in the capacity of an excavation contractor? I mean, are there people, is this giving a loophole to people who could have equipment?
Potentially, but we've never seen that.
Uh-huh.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, but what we've seen has been incidental to a larger permit application for an expansion or a shed or something of that nature. This has all been work that was proposed to be done by hand. If we had a landowner say was a excavation contractor as well, I think would be captured by this, even though they're not paid. If it was someone who just, went out to Kennebec Tool and rented one of those mini excavators and went to town, there's
Right.
still standards they would have to meet. Regardless of the fact that they didn't have somebody certified from DEP, they still have to meet all the standards in the soil, erosion control. Could somebody go amok? Of course. That's always a possibility.
It's gonna be more beneficial to the property owner, basically. And isn't there a limit on yardage, like 9-10 yards or something?
Yeah, there's a separate requirement in the ordinance that if somebody was gonna move or excavate or fill 10 or more cubic yards, they would have to get a permit. In some of the zones, in all the zones, different districts, if it was less than 10 cubic yards, then they would need to get a code enforcement officer permit. If it's in the resource protection, elsewhere, they don't need to get a permit, but they still have to meet the soil erosion control standards. So it's, like with a number of things in this ordinance, there's a fair amount of honor system here.
Mhm.
And so the fact that it doesn't apply to a person or firm engaged in agriculture or timber harvesting, that goes along with state, that's in
Yes, it
compliance
does.
with state
Yeah,
ordinance.
yeah.
Okay.
Those.
Anyone have any other questions?
No other questions. I think from my perspective, doing it in one fell swoop for the town voters would be the way I'd wanna go. Knowing that this, I agree with the direction of this. And I'm glad that's not an emergency, so if it can be coupled with whatever it is that are gonna come from the
Right.
recommendations from the other committees. To land on a final, revision to present, then that would be the way to go.
We did have another, ordinance, proposal that we debated, in-house and that one and this one together, the thought was, well, cause we actually discussed, should we wait for the Land and the Lakes and Natural Resources Committee for their recommendations? We didn't know what timeline they were on. So we thought, well, if we know of some improvements that could be made now, why wait? But that was defeated amongst the board is not recommending that other possible change. And so that left this one that's remaining standing and as we've already talked about, it's not urgent.
Yeah. I mean, my feeling is I prefer to wait and do them all in March, but
I agree.
Yep.
Makes
Fine.
sense.
Just don't let it fall off to the side.
Okay,
It won't,
very good.
it won't.
okay,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
right,
Yes, thank you.
so,
Craig has a question.
I'm sorry, Craig.
So with this Lake Resource Committee, I mean, their recommendations, I mean, they don't know a lot of legalities. That was pretty clear when we met them.
Yeah,
So they don't know a lot of the legalities and stuff, so how are these recommendations gonna be handled and how is the debate gonna go? When these recommendations come in, because. I'm not so sure all of them are gonna be. What we need to be putting into an ordinance.
I think,
Barbara?
but isn't the way we set it up that they come up with their recommendations that they then take to the planning
Planning
board? And then you and the plan, that the two committees work it out and then come to consensus and then it comes to the select board? That's how I think it was set up.
that's how that's been my understanding of our feeling of it.
That'd be my feeling too, and I think that would be a great place to screen some of those recommendations that might come forward, because you might be able to say, well, nice idea, but this won't pass muster due to this, that, and the other, and.
But I think in the I think we
Yeah.
officially, in the charge to the Lakes and Natural Resources Committee, we set up that process,
That's what I thought.
as I remember.
Yep, mine too. Melanie, did you have a comment?
No, that's what, and if we didn't set it up that way, it should be.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
Because-
my thinking is, I don't know how far down the road they are on some of these that. Fairly quickly, maybe someone from the planning board, or, I mean, there should be maybe a little discussion now instead of waiting 2 or 3 more months when they're up against a wall on something.
Well, we did discuss it timeline, like George said.
Yeah,
So they're aware of that now. I was just a little concerned by some of the other
Yeah.
things that they were saying that.
yeah, no,
was
it's come through you
correct.
folks. Yeah.
Because they seem to be thinking that they're gonna rewrite the shoreline ordinance, and I brought that up to a point where you're not rewriting it. And when I was told not to belittle. So, so I'm concerned with them knowing what their charge is,
Mhm.
basically. And,
So are you, with them coming through to you, does that make you comfortable and how
Yes,
that process is? Okay,
right,
and you're comfortable with that too, George? I mean,
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I think, they knowing what the timeline is, and just the process, and as Craig said, it's gonna take the planning board, once we initially receive their, final, recommendations, some time to not only digest it, but possibly need to rework some of it into ordinance language, or
right,
where in the ordinance is it most appropriate to go, to weed out the ones that, as Peter put it, just, they're not gonna, fly. or are problematic from a legal standpoint, or something of that nature. I mean, we have to go through the same process we would with any other set of,
Right.
ordinance, potential ordinance amendments, right?
So they have to
And
have
then
that ready
we
in
need,
January,
we
right?
need to bring you final recommendations for your action no later usually than mid-January.
Right.
And so, working backwards from there, there's not a lot of time left.
No, there's not. Yes,
So can I ask, can we go back and make sure that that's the charge? Because looking in my emails when we were changing from one name to another, what that committee said is that they wanted to be the lead on the shoreline zoning updates. And nothing in that states that it then goes to the planning board before it comes to the select board.
I have to go back
So
and check.
the
with
planning
them.
board needs to be the stopgap for that. Because this is what they do.
Yeah.
So if it isn't, then we're gonna wanna revise that charge.
I've got a note here to pull the minutes.
Yeah.
When that was discussed by you all, so I'll pull that and I'll forward that to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So I would move that the planning board updates to shoreland zone ordinance be held until the March meeting, so it can be presented as a total ballot change or ordinance change.
Second,
All in favor, Barbara?
Yeah.
Melanie?
Yes.
Peter?
yes.
I'll vote yes, so 4 yeses and 1 absent. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you,
Okay.
George. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah.
Who seconded that motion?
Peter, yeah. Okay,
Hang out.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you.
You're quite an audience.
next item is policies for employee recognition. Lorna?
So, I sent out a copy of a, policy that I had found, to you, maybe a month, maybe a little more, a little longer. And so what I've put is, recent departures of employees who have retired or moved on to other positions has prompted the request for board review, consideration, and approval of a special recognition awards and retirement gifts policy. And draft is attached for your review. Mary and I worked on this together to modify it to kind of fit Belgrade. It's fairly simple, straightforward, and recognizes a broad spectrum of employees and their years of service.
Yeah, one question I have is, we don't have any amounts in here. That, I mean, are we talking, they get a $25 gift card? Do they get a $100 gift
I
card?
think,
Do
well, I think what we were thinking was like $100, maybe like, they could get a gift card for a restaurant, so they could go out to dinner with their best friend or spouse or gal or
Yeah.
guy or whoever to celebrate.
But at what level, 5, 10, 15, are we gonna specify
Right.
how much
Right.
it be for each
Yeah,
different level?
Yeah, we didn't get that far into it.
And I don't know
It's a
that
good
I've-
start for the working document.
Yeah,
It's a
Yeah.
draft,
Definitely romantic.
Yeah.
starting point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this is a really good start, because I think it's really good to recognize people
right.
for continuity, longevity,
Yes.
and encourage people, to stay and be part of the team.
Mhm.
Agree.
And I don't know, I think it might be, with putting a dollar amount to every 5 years of service, we just have to recognize that would change, over time,
Right.
with inflation.
Well, and it may be that this is the policy and we have an addendum to it, which is in 2024 level A, B, C, D, R, so that if we go back, we can change the level without having to change the
Right.
policy.
5, 10,
Oh,
15,
good idea.
So that it's not,
right,
Sure.
not so specific. with
not
that.
so specific, so that you have to change a whole policy.
Mhm.
You just have to change an award.
Yeah, Award level.
Yeah.
award level.
Or you could say something like, award levels will be determined by the select board or reviewed annually by the select
You
board.
could do that.
Sure.
You
And we
could say
just-
that.
Something so that this doesn't have to be updated
Right.
all the time. and
So each
changing
year the
your
board
policy.
could, we could just bring recommendation to the board and the board could review that and say yay or nay,
Mhm.
and it would be good for that year.
And do it as an addendum, is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
doing as an addendum that can be changed.
I like that idea.
Yeah,
I think it's
and so
great.
external vendors, would we want to encourage town businesses?
Yeah.
Is that what we're thinking
I
of,
think you would start, to me, you would start with,
town,
businesses here.
local businesses?
Absolutely.
But I mean, you could use, I mean, if you wanted to, you could use Dave's Store and Christie's, and they could use it for lunches if they wanted to,
Right.
without it necessarily being going for dinner, going to the grill for dinner or the Village Inn for dinner. It would be going, they could use it if they chose to.
Right, or it could
Agree.
be Hammond Lumber or Gagny, they could get,
Or it could be, right,
Sure.
yeah,
or Robin's Nest, get some flowers.
There you go.
there you go.
I mean, I think any local, I think it would be good to keep it within the town Belgrade.
Mm-hmm. Be a gift to a Belgrade business.
Yeah.
Mhm. So we just need to figure out what numbers we wanna do there.
Well, I don't know that everybody can only kind of mention. Someone from senior management. So I don't know. I think that I would see that as more like. We're gonna host a luncheon.
Yeah, what does that exactly mean? Anniversary lunch hosted by a member of senior management. Does that mean that Lorna takes them out to lunch?
I think so,
Or that,
Or does it mean their department manager takes them out to lunch?
could very well, for me and the department manager.
or it would be more fun for the whole department to
Yeah.
have a party?
Right,
That's what you were saying,
None of
right?
our departments are
That
that big.
needs to be tweaked, cause like, not everybody is gonna wanna go to lunch with Lorna or go to lunch with Mary. They're gonna be like, thanks anyway, can I just have the money that you would have spent? on lunch?"
Right,
Because I don't really
Figure
wanna
that
go to
out.
lunch with you.
right,
You
exactly.
know?
Yeah,
So maybe we don't make it that strict,
Right,
maybe we
Wanna
say.
take that right
I
out?
would just take that out,
Yeah.
invited to an anniversary lunch period.
no, or just why bother? I don't know,
I mean, and I would see if you've been here 20 years that you get. Maybe some sort of a plaque or an award that says how much we value the fact you've been here for 20 years.
right, or recognize, would it be appropriate to recognize somebody at town meeting or the big
Right,
whole
I mean,
supper or?
recognize the town meeting,
something like
some sort of
that.
award, because there are not a lot of folks in this town that have stayed consistently working for the town
Right.
for that number of years.
Yeah,
Well, and maybe the first year, we recognize anyone that has over 5 years. I mean, because we didn't pick them, they haven't been recognized yet. Anyone at 5 years, we recognize, and if they've got 8 years, 2 more years, you get your 10-year
Mhm.
certificate or something, so that
we
To
would
kick
still
it off,
we would still recognize them.
we
for-
still recognize them for 8
5 or 8
years,
or whatever.
just to
Yeah,
kick this off. And then from here, we'll be recognized everyone at their, their anniversary. So.
would we want, instead of a letter of appreciation, would we want to say certificate of appreciation?
I like the idea of a certificate. Appreciation.
I don't know what people would prefer.
Boy, that,
Some people might frame it and some people may throw it in a drawer, like any other award,
yeah,
it
it will run the gamut, right?
most certainly
Some
will.
people will cringe at the idea of being in front of other people. When they say, hey, look at it, so-and-so has now worked, 5 years, and maybe like, oh my God, don't put me up here, right? Others will be like, Yes, I have been, right? Yes,
Yeah.
I'm all that in a bag of chips. So
Yeah.
so we're done the gamut.
But I think if we get
All
a
that in the bag
certificate,
of chips.
Chips.
if we get a certificate and frame it so that they don't have to go get a frame and frame it.
Yeah.
It's easier to
Agreed.
say, I can take this home, put it in the wall, as opposed to, oh, I've gotta go do this. The cost is minimal and it just makes it look more complete.
What if we do an employee appreciation law?
What?
On their retirement, they can take their certificates with them.
Employee recognition wall.
Right.
We take the other side of the wall from the fire department, or we take the back
Here's
wall.
your photo with your 5-year certificate and
Yeah.
then your 10-year certificate. And we up them and maybe update their photos, or maybe they wanna look the same as they did.
Forever
And
25.
change their certificate.
That's a great idea,
And then when they retire, or when they leave and leave, I guess if they leave and come back, we can take it down and put it back.
Yeah.
But, you know, then they have something that goes with them, but also as a recognition for folks coming into the town facilities, to say they're waiting to register something.
Mhm.
What's this? Okay, you've been here 5 years, good job, you know,
Mhm.
so maybe
That's a great
something
idea.
else.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about maybe tying it in with something else like the holiday luncheon or something like that, you know, when the whole staff is here to hand out the certificates, you know, at that kind of event.
Mhm.
Yeah, the only hard part with that is those of us that work outside, we don't get to go to those,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah. that's
So
true.
when would we give out?
We could do a
I mean-
town meeting was probably the logical time.
Yeah.
For everybody for 5, 10, 15?
I would think, yeah.
I mean, I know that there's some.
And then we get more people attending town meeting.
Yeah, right?
But I mean, I think, that's when they would have the most people that would appreciate it as opposed to
Mhm,
a smaller group.
mhm.
And if we took a nice photo like the one we'll put on the
Like a
wall,
photo
we
of
could
you,
also
yes, and
feature them on
Yeah.
Facebook,
Newsletter.
newsletter,
Yeah.
website.
Mhm.
Could just do an announcement recognizing these individuals for their service to the town. Do something like that too,
Yes.
Mhm.
right? Good idea, all good idea. I really love the thing on the wall though,
Mm.
so that when residents come in to do business, they see that.
Right,
Mhm.
Because they interact with us so
Mhm.
much,
Right.
all of our staff.
Mhm. So scratch the anniversary lunch.
Yes,
I think I trust that.
yeah,
yeah.
I can see some people being like, what are we gonna have to talk about with that person for a while? If you're interested in all these, right?
Yeah. Totally awesome.
Right, I want to be, that was the biggie that.
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess I see the last two, the anniversary lunch and recognizing 20 years of service during company-wide meetings. I mean, it's such a small, it seems like, you know, that's from a bigger,
Big-
a
bigger
bigger
company.
company.
Right,
And if we're going to do something special for 20 years, we could be a little bit more personal about what it would be. I don't know, recognized by a special, huh?
Cause my brain was like, do we do an ice cream social? Do we do something that's kind of festive, brings people out and about in a group?
Or do we just leave it, you know, but say we'll be recognized with a special event or something like that, so that it could be tied in with something else, it could be something separate, I don't know. I'm just a little hesitant to get us sort of locked into one particular
right.
scheme of
Will be
recognition.
recognized
Mm.
with a special event, at a special event, or.
The special event TBD.
Whatever's working that year.
I don't know. Cause, you know, as someone else said, some people might like to have recognition and some people might not, so,
Suck it up and deal.
yeah.
I mean, sometimes you have to put your big girl pants on. And if you work 20 years of uninterrupted service, you deserve a pat on the back and you do it, in a way that works for them.
Yep.
most people who work 20 years are happy with where they are.
Right,
And they know people, so it's not awful. It's not like we've got
right,
100 employees. It's
Right.
people they all know after 20 years.
Right.
They've seen them
Right.
all come and go.
right. No, I'm just saying that we might not wanna prescribe exactly what that event is. That
Right.
we might wanna just leave it flexible.
Mhm. Flexible works for me.
And maybe we'll just talk to, you know, other small companies or organizations, what do you folks do for 20 years?
Hmm.
You know, out of photos, it's a big shindig and it's a surprise, and if somebody's been there 20 years, they go all around and don't tell so-and-so that you all have to be there by 11:30. And then they come in and it's whatever their favorite meal is, so. If it's lasagna, we did a taco bar recently for someone who'd been there 20 years, because tacos are his favorite thing. So when everybody comes in and out, it's kind of an open house for an hour or so, and all the different departments get to do it, and
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
so. Maybe somebody.
Lots of good ideas.
Yeah.
So another thought, do we want to recognize everybody when they've completed their first year? Just a thought.
Mhm.
You know, someone's here, they've been here a year, that we say, great job, and then recognize them at 5, 10, 15, you know, as we go. Just a thought.
Good.
So,
Then there's no incentive to get to 5, though. There's no incentive to get to 5.
well, they don't get that big a prize. I'm just thinking it's just a way with new employees to maybe make them feel like, oh, I've been here a year, oh, they appreciate me, and then, you know, by then they're in the flow of things, so. Just for consideration,
Yeah, so we can stick one in
pick one,
under eligibility.
yeah. So what are we thinking as far as numbers? 5 years? $50, 75?
Oh, for the amounts you saying?
Yeah, I mean, starting for this year, let's pretend, you know, for anyone this year. Been here 5 years,
Is it worth $50?
should be worth at least 50.
Yeah.
And at 10, 100,
Well, I was thinking probably go, yeah, 10 and then,
75.
or are you thinking 75 at 10?
I don't know, 10 years is a long time.
That
I
is a
think it
long
should be
time. That's a long time.
Yeah. You know, if you're doing 50 at 5, then you're basically using $10 a year, right?
Yep.
Right,
So you could just,
100.
10 would be 100, 15 years would be 150,
50, yeah.
20 years would be 200, I mean,
Uh-huh.
you know, and that we use that as a basis this year, and then we can look at next year and which we'll need to,
Well, so this year we would be recognizing people who have been here for a good number of
a
years.
good number of
Like
years.
the town clerk, the transfer station director.
Right, we have a lot of people who
Yeah,
have.
there are a few people who have been here for,
So this year they
Some time.
get recognized as the kickoff, and then,
no, but
Okay.
like,
First, you gotta fund it, though.
right.
now, we have I don't remember what it's called. The reserve account we set up to cover when someone leaves.
oh, that's when they're leaving, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, select board has a special fund too,
Right.
Right, but.
So we
also
could
need
look
to
and see.
Because I know we tap some of that.
yeah,
for
we
some
could
of
look
the-
and see how
I
much
could
is
figure
there.
out, I could figure out what amount, so
Right.
then we could figure
Then we
out
could
where
look
that
and
might
see.
come from.
Cause it would probably be more in this first year because
It would,
It will be.
we'd be catching people up.
you're
Right.
correct.
So maybe we catch people up at 25 so that we have.
Right, at town meeting, so we can budget for it.
Town meeting. Because the special account that was set up is a special account,
Mhm.
so. And we set it up for the sole purpose of covering if someone leaves and we have to come up with their.
Their vacation and their sick pay. Yeah, I wouldn't take it out of
That
that.
account is already set for those special
Right.
purposes, so.
Yeah, but I think we could put it into, we could put it into the budget for 25 and do it at town meeting this year.
Yeah, but it would be helpful to know what
What
the
we're looking at.
expectation would be
Yes.
for next year.
And maybe for this year or the next couple, just for, everyone stays, what's it gonna look like in 26 and what it'll look like in 27? Cause
But in the first year, in 25, we'd recognize everybody who is, like if somebody has 12 years, they'd get the 10
the
year.
10-year, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they get their 10-year recognition
yeah,
and they only have to wait 3 years to get the next.
right, I know.
They're getting the bargain basement. So, okay,
Yeah,
So-
I like this. I think this is good.
So should we leave this in here, look at it again at the next meeting?
yeah,
And Barb, see how we want to.
see what the numbers look like. Yeah,
And,
Yeah.
and it's called service recognition and retirement gifts policy, but there isn't really anything in it about retirement gifts yet.
other than they'd be retiring after 20 years. would be
Right, they get a special
A
event.
special event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could change the, that description line to just service recognition.
Yeah,
Because even if it were retirement, that is still a form of.
So,
Right,
service
recognition,
recognition, right,
Right?
yeah.
okay,
So
yeah,
we can
service
take
recognition
out.
policy,
Yeah,
service recognition policy.
Mhm.
Okay, good, yeah, I like that.
okay, yeah, so Laura, if you wanna
Update
rework
that
that
and-
for,
Yeah, and I'll
next-
work
next
on
time.
getting you that information.
okay,
So one last question on this,
Yeah.
last paragraph says, retiring after 20 years of uninterrupted service, do we care that it's uninterrupted?
Mm,
What happens if a person works here 5 years, goes away to do, I don't know. work
goes
in a
to another
bank,
town and work and then comes
Then
back.
comes back and then finishes up their career for another 30 years, does it matter that they had a break?
mm,
I don't know if
To-
it should.
To me, I guess, it does not to me,
Yeah.
Right.
because
it's not to me
the
either.
person is given their
That
career.
many years of service here.
so
Yeah.
just take out uninterrupted.
Take out uninterrupted, yeah.
We had taken out that bottom one sentence anyway, those last two. I have them crossed out on mine.
The bottom one, well, we were gonna say employees retiring after 20 years of service will be recognized with a special event.
Okay,
Yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't have that, so let me write that,
Cause the thing that
Okay, got it.
distinguishes, right, is the amount of service.
Right.
20 years and over, that, you're an
That-
old timer, you
Right.
put in a lot of stuff,
that's right,
right? The young whippersnappers at 1, 5, 10, and 15,
yeah.
still young, still got more to go,
They haven't crossed the line yet.
right? Not old.
Okay.
person yet.
Okay. Everyone happy with that?
Yeah, good.
Very, very, agree. I think it's a very good thing that you're doing.
Yep, okay. Is there any other business? Do you?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh.
Well, there's two items on one of the warrants that I think. Can we move other business to after the warrants? Because there's two items on the warrant. That shouldn't go through the way they are because it didn't come before the board. We have to actually vote to take the money out of those accounts for that. So
Okay.
that I'm comfortable to take them off the warrant. But then we take action on them and other business so that the two individuals still get paid.
Okay,
So that they're okay, just.
yep, I'm fine with switching it. Okay, so under warrants. The first one is warrant 92. In the amount of, or I move we pay AP warrant number 92 in the amount of $5,573.04.
Second,
Way to go, Barbara.
Okay.
What?
Way to
We
go.
should do the rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yeah.
And we're like, ooh.
All in favor, Barbara?
Yep.
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, 4 yeses, 1 absent. The next one is, I move we pay payroll warrant number 93 in the amount of $28,352.57.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Barbara?
Yes,
Peter?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That is 4 yeses and 1 absent. I move we pay AP warrant number 94 in the amount of $62,111.55.
second,
Okay. Any discussion on AP warrant number 94?
Yes. On page 1, Benjamin Flanagan. We have paying out of the special revenue account, the adults donation. So that one, that's one of the ones that we need to move to an action item.
Okay, Melanie, I didn't hear what you said.
So, so on page 1, we have Benjamin Flanagan, and on page 2, we have Greg Goulet. They're both the concert series, but it's a special revenue account. So the treasurer doesn't have the right to pay out of that account. We have to authorize payment out of the special revenue account because we're the only ones who can do that. So just like the ARPA funds that we had to say X amount is going to such and such because it's a special revenue fund.
Now, we have not done that on other ones. Is she paying it differently?
It's the account that it comes out of.
So this was the question I had on the last one, which is why I wanted to know how we were paying for the concert series, because on the last one, it was coming out of the recreation budget. And I said, my understanding was we had set a cap from the town on how much the town would be providing for those. And then it was the donation, and then Lake Point, I believe, was stepping up with some more.
Right.
So now here's a separate account that's been set up for this, but my concern was that we were not taking it out of the right accounts, because it's sort of willy-nilly. And I don't have any idea what's in those accounts. I don't believe we've been provided what the total amount is for that, what the expectation is for the concert series, how much money is going to be expended for that. And to be sure that we're not overdrawing everything that we shouldn't be with the recreation department.
Okay,
but this didn't jump out at us before. So previously it was from the recreation
Recreation.
budget. So maybe what you're saying is they reached the budget limit from the recreation budget, and so now for the artists, the musicians, and so now they're going into the special revenue fund,
So I think
but they shouldn't,
Find out.
yeah.
And they should, they actually should be using their special revenue fund and their fundraising stuff prior to tapping the town's money. Because if that special revenue, it's just like when the
right,
library has a special revenue account and it's just to purchase teen books.
Right.
That's all that can be done with that money, so that's all that this can be done. But because it's technically a special revenue account. We have to know how much is in it, and we have to say, yes, we give approval for this out of that account.
The DILT account has around 7,000. It has enough to cover the balance of the concert
Concert.
musicians. Those were not sourced from that account previously. The budget line item, there were concert musicians paid above that, not taken out of DILT, which they should have
So
been.
that's what
They
I would
should
like to
have
see, is
been.
I'd like to see. What's the donation from Lake Point that's covering it, what's the DILT account, how much is the town expending, because we need to have a handle on that.
Right, I think I pulled that line item. I think I sent that to you, it was 50, I wanna say it was 5,500, the budget amount.
Did you send that recently?
I sent that in an email, in my follow-up email, pretty sure I did.
Okay,
But, I mean, certainly well, Lisa's not, she'll be here first thing, she's got training Thursday, she'll be here first thing in the morning, I can pull it. And I can send out the DILT's information
Well,
to you.
the whole, so what I wanna know is from the rec director, what is the amount of money that is budgeted for this concert series? What is the sources of revenue for the concert series?
Yeah, we did go over that during the budget season, because I touched base with Dan. Just to confirm that we were utilizing those DILT's donations, and he confirmed, yes, he said that's why we put the line item, I wanna say it was 5,500. And then he knew that he had this extra money that came in specifically for the musicians under Mr. Dilt's name in honor of him for those, so. And he said, we went over all of this during the budget season. I said, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
It's
and
been a while though. I couldn't remember it, all of
And I
it,
wanna
so.
make sure that we're staying within the parameters, cause that was one of the concerns when we first started this, is we were paying $400, now we're paying $800. This one new thing is $1,600.
The budgeted line item and the account, donations in honor of Mr. Diltz. The line item in that account both together do cover all of the concert musicians for this
Does
year.
it leave? I guess
I think
part of the
it
question
leaves
is,
in
are
your
we
tax-
draining the DILT's money? That is part of the question.
And I wanna see the whole deal, so I wanna know how much is in the account, what we've taken out of it, and what is our bottom line. Because we wanted to put money towards it, but $400 to $800, depending on the number of musicians. This is $1,600 for one, $7,000
Where is it?
goes,
Where's it 1,600?
it's $800 for one and $800 for the second one, that's $1,600 for those two musicians.
But aren't
Yeah,
they,
one's the possible one. They're different.
they're
two
groups, they're
different
different
groups.
groups.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they're for two different. groups.
And I
Midnight
think
breakfast
they're
and the
paid
fossils.
by how many members?
Right, it's,
There
I
are-
think it's $200 per performer, right?
well, no, what Christine said is different performers come in different amounts, it is not a set amount. So the lead person is who gets the payment and then they disseminate amongst
How they wanna
themselves,
split it.
how they're doing it. But if there's three, like if it's Laura Hudson and Pat Collin and blah, 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 they're each gonna command a higher amount right out of the
Right.
gate. So we just need some accounting, some cleaning up and just so that we can be sure we're not draining anything or overdrawing anything that we shouldn't be, and just that the money's coming out where it should be.
You are almost draining the Diltz account, but that's what it was set up
Set up
for.
for.
Right.
When Mrs. Diltz came in and met with us,
Right, no, I understand that.
yeah,
That's
it's
not-
just
that's not
for
what I'm
those
saying.
musicians.
Right,
And
and
there
it
isn't-
wasn't set up as an endowment or an ongoing account.
No,
So it's just to use it until it's gone.
yes,
Yeah,
and there is enough money to cover this year between
Right.
that and what was approved on that
So it's
budgeted
the
line
musicians
item.
and then there's Chris Polson's fee.
Which was 4,000.
Or 3,900 or something, yeah.
Right.
So we just, I'm sure it'll all show up and come out fine, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's our job to look at the bottom line, if we
Yeah.
have a question, we have a question, then, you
Yeah.
know, lay it all out for me, sometimes. I love a good spreadsheet.
So we want the Diltz account balance.
What are we doing for the concert series? Like, how is this, how have we done it? Where's the money come from? How, you know, because the last ones, it was coming out of the recreation budget.
Right, that was done incorrectly previously, anything over the line item. That was not sourced correctly.
So we.
so you're saying that the line item that's for musicians in the budget. That's what would be spent first, and then whatever we need after that is coming
Comes
from
from
the DILTs. Okay,
Right,
So we wanna, basically, in my mind, drain the first one
yes,
before we drain the second one.
yes.
But are we,
Yes.
we're draining the rec budget and then going to DILTs, or are we
Yes.
draining
Yeah.
DILTs and going to the rec budget?
I'd rather drain donations first.
Yeah,
specifically.
Well, but the way it was set up with Page Dilts was that it would supplement the rec budget.
right.
Okay,
That's how,
It
right?
sounds like.
Okay.
right?
so
Yeah.
if that's how that's
If that's it,
worded,
then we should
That's how
do
they,
rec budget
that's how
and
they,
then
set-
bill.
that's how they set up the,
Yep.
Yeah,
the donation.
So-
but then we also wanna see if we said $4,000 from the town of Belgrade, and then we paid Christine for organizing it $4,000, that's gone.
Yeah, it's spent or will be spent, right?
That was spent right out of the gate, cause she gets paid for that ahead,
right,
for doing all the organizing and.
Right.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
All right,
okay.
Good.
So are we holding those two checks? We aren't gonna pay those musicians?
Well, no,
so
we're,
that's where I was trying to figure, do we hold these two because we have to approve it coming out of that account?
so we would take them off the warrant. And then we'll vote
Just do it.
to pay them out of the special revenue account under separate motion. So we would approve the AP warrant 94 for the amount of $60,511.55. And then when we finish with warrants, we'll go to other business and authorize the payment of those two $800 checks out of the special revenue account.
Can you do it? Can you do it while you're discussing? And as part of that approval for this warrant? I mean, do you have to wait and say? We're gonna hold those or pull those?
No, we're just
from
gonna
the
do it
warrant?
tonight.
Mm.
We're gonna do it tonight. We're just gonna,
Do it, not do it as part of the warrant, just do it at the end.
we're gonna do two separate articles.
Right, so we're gonna approve this warrant, but it's not gonna be the full amount.
Right, it'll be for
And
60,000.
so then we're gonna wait and then go to other business and say, okay, we're going to go ahead and approve this
The-
check for
Right,
this
Out
amount.
of special revenue.
out of special revenue. So
Right,
it'll all
but
come
if
out
we've
even.
taken it off the warrant, are we going to need to have a new warrant?
We would need to have a new warrant.
So yeah, she would have to void those checks and do a new warrant. So
Do it, right? And you, they can do it as part of the approval process for this AP warrant.
yeah,
So-
I would just move forward on it because they're already written. And yeah, because it is a process to go in and void those out of that warrant and to do a separate warrant now.
Yeah, and don't we do that like for the library special funds, when the library pays for programs or books or whatever, you know, materials out of their special revenue accounts? We don't have a separate warrant for that, it's just right in the regular warrant, I think. I don't recall this coming up before, but I think that's, you know, kind of a similar situation because they have a ton of, you know, different
Special funds that take it out of.
special revenue accounts. But I mean, I think your point is good, that it would be good for us to see an
Where it's
accounting
coming.
of, you know, what the total budget is,
Yeah.
how much has come from the rec budget, how much has come from donations.
Like we have special revenue for ARPA for KV cog for
KV
the
cut.
comp plan.
Because
Yeah.
at a separate meeting, we approved that amount for ARPA to KV cog in that amount. So we've approved the total amount for KV cog for doing the comprehensive plan update. So if we come to the end of that, then it's, but we previously approved it.
And this we have not previously approved, which is your point.
I'm not sure that we have.
I can't imagine that you would not have if you agreed to accept
Accept that-
donations
that
Right, we
for,
accepted the
for the
donations,
musicians.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good.
We accepted the donations.
What do you think about this? I mean, this is all being recorded and minuted, and we're discussing it in such a way that there is awareness that we are concerned about how the money is being spent, right? And where it's coming from. And we know that is the donation fund that we talked about, the bills fund, and the special revenue for the rec department that we're now recognizing should be spent first. Could we go forward authorizing this warrant, knowing the context of the two question marks that we have? Knowing we're gonna get the spreadsheet to further examine.
Yeah.
The accounting. I mean, would there be comfort in?
Yeah.
Doing it that way?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm okay with that.
okay, I just wanna talk it out.
Yeah.
Just so we have.
Yeah, I think that's,
I'm okay with that, but it's then. what do we do in 2 weeks when there's another bill to be paid? Do we need to, when we finish this, do we need to authorize that DILT's count, or have we already authorized it by accepting the donation? So that we don't come around in 2 more weeks and have the same
Well,
conversation.
maybe we can get the accounting for this within the next couple of days, so that we can see where
Yeah.
things stand.
I'm not sure that there are any more.
There are a couple that got postponed, so I think.
Then we
that-
probably only pay them.
No, we don't pay them till they perform. Yeah. So there may, and just to keep it clean,
Mhm.
or maybe when we finish all the warrants, we just pass a notice that we want to go and spend that DILT's money first and then the other, and then we're on the record. So at the next meeting, we can do that.
Yeah.
And then it's clear. Does that
But
make
that's not how the
sense?
DILT's money was set up to be spent
Right,
first.
the other way.
Okay, then we do it the other way, okay. But that we make a motion,
Yeah.
so it's on the record the right way.
I don't know that we need to
Right,
make a motion.
'cause-
Like, I just think we need to get an accounting of where the revenue has come from
Hmm.
and what the expenditures are and how they worked out.
And just cover again, you know, how that money was intended, when we approved it, and how that was worded. Just so we're with the whole package.
Yeah, just have it all on one page.
Right, and just to make sure, so for auditing purposes, that you're authorizing the revenue against the expense.
Mhm.
That's the important part of that, because that's revenue against the expense, which isn't always normally done. Because like,
Revenue-
because
revenue
it's revenue, because people have still been donating. It's revenue. You're posting the revenue against the expense instead of already being a budgeted budget item. Do you understand?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a couple other questions too.
Okay,
We can move on from
You have
that.
5 minutes, Melanie, for the rest of your questions.
On page 2, we have a bad check penalty for the IRS. and
That's
we
me.
also have an overpayment on account. So we overpaid an account by $649.94. What are those?
Where, I don't see the
page
over.
3 is the overpayment.
Okay, the IRS is my fault because when I processed payroll and sat at Nick's computer to pay federal taxes online, I did not know, and it was not included in the instructions, that you had to manually put in Northeast Bank because Androscoggin Bank was still in there. And I had no idea that there was anything wrong with that, paid the federal payroll taxes. And just as you are seeing this, I now know that that was a problem. And
I
I'm
did not,
happy,
and I sat with Lorna too, and I did not know that the bank had not been changed to Northeast, so.
and I'm
Um,
happy to reimburse the town
No,
for $107.60,
no, I
No,
don't think that's
I don't-
necessary.
because that was my fault.
I was just
Well-
like, you know, had a bad check.
I-
Bad
yeah.
check too.
No, but
That's
that-
my fault.
Well,
No.
I don't know.
The cost of
it should not
the
have
cost
been
of doing
defaulted to
business.
yours, so
Hmm.
it should have been changed.
Yeah.
And you weren't the one who didn't change it.
And then, what is the overpayment? So it starts on page 2, it says Kennebec.
Bottom of page 2.
Overpayment on account. $649.94.
So it's on page 3, the first line there.
And it starts in the bottom of
Page two.
page 2.
So that is because we frequently
right?
receive,
Mm.
we receive mortgage payments from banking institutions. And there was a payment that had already been, an account that had already been paid for. So we cut a check back to the bank for the person whose account has already been paid.
So it was an
So
escrow
the
payment
property tax,
Correct.
it was a double payment for property tax.
from the bank.
So we had to give them back one of those.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. I was like, what is that?
Anything else, Melanie?
No, that was it.
Okay.
I think those are good enough.
Okay, so we're back to approving warrant number 94 in the amount of $62,111.55. All in favor? Barbara?
Oh, no, we already did.
Yeah, I've got Carol and Barbara,
Yeah.
motion and
Yes.
second.
Okay, Peter,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes, 4 yeses and 1 absent. Okay, I move we pay AP warrant number 95 in the amount of $13,757.63.
Okay,
All in favor, Barbara,
yes,
Peter,
Yes.
Melanie,
yes.
and I'll vote yes, so that gives us 4 yeses and 1 absent. And then I move we approve payroll warrant number 96 in the amount of $27,912.08.
I'll second that.
All in favor, Melanie,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Barbara,
yes.
and I'll vote yes, so 4 yeses and 1 absent.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? One of those was a lien discharge. How are we doing on liens? I know we have.
Nick, do you have an update on lien discharges? I know Nick came in and signed some papers this week.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sorry, I didn't hear Melanie's question.
How are we on lien discharges?
So we should be all caught up today. We just filed some that had been done previously and were sent back by the registry. So we fixed them, I fixed them, and we sent them back out.
Okay, so do we have very many folks still that we have a lien on their property?
Yes, we still do have quite a few people from 23. I don't have that number, and we still have a few people who I'm going to send notices out to say, hey, your 2022s are past due, and foreclosure date is in December. So to please get in touch and to see if we can't work something out.
Okay,
I have a question.
yeah,
Mary, I'm just curious, has the number of liens over time been increasing? Or is it
No.
kind of the normal amount or?
It's
Yeah,
about the
okay.
normal amount. Yeah.
I was just curious because, it's the state of the economy, how people are doing in town and all that. And just was curious.
okay, all right. Is there any other business? Anyone have?
Yes.
Lorna?
So we received looks like an overpayment. Oh, no, this is, sorry, sales tax refund. Payment for salt.
For what?
Morton Salt, and this is actually from 2022. And they just sent this, so it came out of the expense account for salt and sand in 2022. We do recommend putting it back into the expense account directly for the upcoming year with permission. And with your approval, we can do that and note to the auditor. Because obviously we can't go back to 2022. I can't believe it took them so long.
How much money?
$481.44.
Okay,
481 is 480,
that's right, money we didn't have before.
Yeah,
right?
Okay,
that's what, 4 tons or something.
So if you'd have to make a motion.
I move that we put the salt refund from 2022 directly back to the salt account. And the amount of that refund is $481.44.
I'll second that.
All, a discussion? All in favor, Melanie?
I'd like to use, no, just. Use that for a special recognition.
She's thinking, look at her.
Peter?
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes, 4 yeses, 1 absent.
That was a good idea.
Okay. You are on, Lorna. Town manager report.
Okay, and I apologize, this is a pretty short one. I was away and then we had two GA applications in one day. And I was like, ask Mary, I was so stressed. I was like, no, because it was taking so long to process them. I felt like I wasn't taking enough time to finish up. So attended fire building committee meeting, worked on employee handbook updates with Barbara and Mary, and we also had our department head meeting. Animal control officer Jeff Worthing has completed his certification, so congratulations to Jeff. Recreation Director Deanne McGlashing has been selected to attend and speak at the Northern New England Parks and Rec Conference in January. That conference is held at Attitash Mountain, so great job, Dan. Hans and I met with 2 members of the pickleball fundraising group to discuss putting up banners to bring awareness for the project, looking at the properties, Center for All Seasons and Dalton. The Dalton property comes across, there's a really thin strip that faces 27 horizontally, where the banners could be placed, so that is still residential property. And it would not violate our commercial development ordinance because we do have some restrictions on signage. So if you put something on Center for All Seasons, that's commercial property. So, if you put it on that Dalton property, that little strip, and there's no restriction.
And so even though the town owns the property, it's considered residential.
Right, it's still separate. Yeah, okay. Town clerk and tax collector Mary Vogel has applied for and been approved for the 2024 rural and non-metro election infrastructure grant in the amount of $5,000 to be used for sufficient law enforcement presence for voting day, employing additional workers, postage for absentee ballots, a new laptop for the state CBR system for checking voter registrations, and scanner for scanning new registrations to upload. Under the delegations for the town manager, I have accepted this grant. Great job, Mary. That's significant.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you, Mary.
I included a copy of that application so that you
Okay.
could see that. Yeah,
Great,
that was
thank you, Mary.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Road did too, can we do recognition on Facebook and on
Yes.
our website as well?
Yes, let me, I'll make a note of that.
It's nice to get it out there.
Yes. Okay. We have interviews for the open position of assistant recreation director scheduled, I believe it's Thursday morning.
How many applicants do we have?
I received, I believe, 5 applications. Reviewing those, I think we scheduled 2 that were qualified, so we'll start with those and see.
And go.
See how we end up, yeah. Senator King's office is sending a representative, Scott, I believe it's Scott Wilkins. He will meet with myself, some of the building committee, and I think Barbara and Carol, you both said you would be present. That will be August 27 to tour the fire stations as part of the CDS grant. You will find attached some information on electronic voting. These are, I don't know if you call them clickers, we call them clickers. For the board to review and consider. These clickers would protect anonymity and may increase attendance for our annual town meeting. I know Mary, one of the conferences, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mary, one of the conferences you attended, somebody spoke in their town had these, and they were very pleased with them. They are pretty good cost, but they have a large benefit, not only anonymity, but they give you instant results. And I think you can print out reports, is that correct, Mary?
Yeah, yeah, you can print out the reports if there are amendments. It sounds like amendments can easily be made and typed in. But the board's been talking about increasing attendance at town meeting, and I hear from a few people, maybe because I'm at the front desk, that they don't feel that they want to maybe vote against their neighbor. They may not agree with things that their neighbor agrees with, and so they just choose not to attend. But it's a thought. The town of Naples, actually, one of the clerks had spoken about it, and she said it did increase attendance at their town meeting. So I've sent off a couple of emails. There are 2 towns in the state of Maine that use them. They're mostly used in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, in both municipalities and in the legislature and the House of Representatives. So just thought it might be something interesting to pursue. And, it does seem kind of costly, but, something for the board to consider.
And so where it says under the price page, it says 200 lanyards. The lanyards would have a clicker on it that allows people to vote.
I am
Right.
not quite sure.
20 devices. And then
Yes,
the
and
lanyards
it's
are no
200 for, and that's the 10,000 cost, correct?
Oh,
Mary?
200 devices, yeah.
cost.
Just for
Yeah.
200.
Okay,
Yeah, 200 lanyards with the
200
cost.
lanyards with 200 devices. Got it. Okay,
Yeah,
great. Yeah, something to consider.
Yeah,
It is.
that's odd, and because it is a concern. You hear that quite often, that we're
Yeah.
trying to think of some way to increase
Yeah.
attendance and participation, thinking outside the box,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? So, that's all I have.
Okay, anything else? If there's nothing else, I move we adjourn at 8:11.
Second,
All in favor? Barbara?
Yes.
Peter?
yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Yeah. Everyone get up and vote.